All right, and welcome back to another episode of Perspective and Pokemon, where sometimes we talk about perspective, sometimes we're talking about Pokemon, sometimes a little bit of both. And actually, today I think it might be a little bit of mix of a both scenario, because I have with me PJ Lewis from Kollectible Kings, and I am actually really excited to have them on because I've been following them, their shop, for a little bit now, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of their shop, and so PJ, thank you so much for being on.
Well, I appreciate it. It's definitely a blast to get on here and talk shop and Pokemon with you, and just pretty excited about the whole thing, the whole experience of what's going on right now. So glad to be here.
So for those who might not know who you are, can you give like a brief intro, like who are you and what do you got going on?
Well, my name is PJ Lewis. I'm one of the founders of Kollectible Kings. Come from a little bit different background. I'm an insurance agent, so it's not that exciting, I guess. I'm an insurance business, but my sons Landon and Dylan. My oldest son will be 15 next month, and my youngest son turned 11 in November. And we come from the sports card world, and we would open just like anybody else, try to find packs, cards, hobby boxes, whatever we get our hands on. And, the kids enjoy opening. And, we would do that. And then, we would keep some of the singles and some of the sports cards we would sell online. And, right now, over the last couple of years, I mean, kids like seeing that. They like seeing, especially in that age, they get kind of money conscious at that point. And so they get excited when they pull like a Zion and then say, oh my gosh, this Zion, you could sell this Zion for like $500 or something. Like they go crazy over that stuff. Now, obviously they know that doesn't happen all the time, but it's kind of a neat experience. Like with me and probably yourself, obviously it's exciting to be, in sports cards or TCG or anything like that. But when you add a child element to it, I think it just 10x it. I mean, in my experience, it 10x it for me, because I think as a father and so forth, let me just mute this. I'm sorry. I don't know. I thought I had that mute already. That's the good old office phone. But yeah, so basically, when you have your kids involved, it just makes everything 10 times better. So they're into it. So then, we were like, okay, well, with COVID last year, and school being kind of cut short or kind of starting the distance learning thing last year, my oldest son was in some business classes and so forth. And, I love business in general. And I own a few businesses with my wife. And so I was like, hey, let's start a business together. And, we'll name it Kollectible Kings, and it'll just be me and my two sons. And, we'll run this, we'll do an eBay store and just start it off that way. So we started off on eBay, and then we decided to get a Shopify store. And then with my business background, I was like, okay, well, let's try to get some distributors to see if we can kind of get this bigger. And that's kind of how it started. It kind of snowballed. And we got a couple distributors that decided to partner with us at that time, which was awesome. And, really, that's kind of how Kollectible Kings started. And now we're getting ready to open up our shop on February the 27th. So that's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's a really cool story. Like how it just kind of all snowballed and got bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it did. And, luckily, I found two great friends of mine that are into cards as well. So basically, we were kind of on the path to start a store, and then, being one person, already have a couple other businesses and so forth. It's always great to have others that have the same type of passion to want to get involved. So then you can kind of spread the work around and so forth as well. So they contacted me and they were like, hey, we don't want to infringe on, your territory here, because you made it known that, you wanted to open up a shop in Winchester, but we're thinking about opening a shop in another town about 20 minutes away. And I was like, well, I mean, we're friends and we know each other. I was like, I'd be happy to partner up with you guys and let's get it rolling. So that kind of fast tracked it to, instead of waiting until late summer or early fall of this year, we, picking up two partners, we're like, man, let's just go ahead and get this thing rolling now. So that's kind of where we're at this moment.
That's awesome. And you have your physical location opening up this month, correct?
Right. So February the 27th. So if you're in Virginia, you can visit us here in Winchester. Winchester's roughly about, I'd say, an hour and a half drive southwest of DC. So we're kind of in the northern tip of Virginia. So if you got anybody that's in West Virginia, Maryland, even Pennsylvania, Northern Virginia, you might be about an hour, hour and a half drive to come see us, and definitely would like to meet everybody that we can, in person. But we've been fortunate enough to. I really enjoy the online community as well. I mean, just getting to know you and other people that I haven't met, in person. But we try to make some sort of a connection through Instagram or Facebook as well. So the online community has been growing. So, that's definitely fantastic, but it also poses some challenges because, we come from a place of wanting to help collectors. And, I want to make sure everybody, man, if I can give a box of Vivid Voltage to everybody, that would be my goal. But now, like last night, we had a drop of Vivid Voltage boxes, and it didn't even last 30 seconds online.
Oh,
So,
yeah, I missed it.
yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of, that might be later on in the conversation about maybe some of the difficulties of trying to get a shop or online going is obviously the supply chain is very, 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 very small. And I think a lot of people understand it, but then some don't. And, it's just the hobby right now is what's going on. There's not much to go around.
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely been a very interesting year already. Just I mean, I don't know how other TCGs are right now, but at least in Pokemon, just I mean, going to even like a Walmart or a Target, like
Yeah.
it's you don't see anything. There's like nothing on the shelves.
Yeah. It's Pokemon is definitely probably, I guess, as far as a collectible and as far as what people are selling and so forth, I think is the dominant one right now. And that's kind of something that, I've kind of taken on in the probably just last month and a half, is trying to research the other TCGs as well. Because what I found is the main reason why we got into Pokemon back in April is, we were selling sports cards and everything, but we couldn't get a hold of hobby product because even though we're with distributors, they're already max capacity with everybody else that's buying. Because in the sports world, if you know or don't know, a majority of the people that are buying up the hobby boxes are breakers. So breakers, they're buying the product, they're selling spots to people to open a product. So they're doing breaks multiple times a day, and you multiply that by tens of thousands of businesses or people doing breaks. That's who's sucking up all the hobby product right now in sports. So even if you have a brick and mortar or retail store, you're kind of have to get in line with sports cards. So we're trying to think of a different way. Okay, so how else can we kind of, break into trying to have a consistent product? And I talked to one of my distributors, and they're like, you know what? We have a lot of Pokemon around. So they said, in April. And I was like, I've never bought Pokemon before, but I know a little bit about it. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I might order some because I'm not restricted on that. There's no allocations at that point in time in April. So I remember I did my research, and what they had in stock that I thought was the best product at the time is they had Evolution booster cases in stock. So I'll tell you right now, I mean, I don't know if I get in trouble or not, but the wholesale price on a booster case is roughly about $475 wholesale. So, I ordered 2 cases, and I was like, well, let's just order 2 cases of this because I knew I think there's 3 Charizards in that set. I was like, Charizard's definitely the guy to go after. So there's 3 of them in there. So you have a good probability of hitting some Charizards. So me and my boys that night when we got those cases, and we ripped both cases. So we opened 12 boxes of Evolutions. And I mean, we pulled probably 10 kilos of the, and we pulled like 5 or 6 of the reverse hollows as well. And we were like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. But even back then, I think maybe the hollow was going for like $50, raw. And you're like, okay, well, it's not like sports cards, but it's still pretty cool. So we started opening like Burning Shadows. I went on a nice run. Like I was opening Burning Shadows, then we opened Cosmic Eclipse, and then we were opening, I think it was Team Up. So we were kind of hitting good sets. And the funny thing about it is I was like, back then we were still opening sports cards and everything else. And I sat on my Pokemon because I kind of like Pokemon better. I think they're kind of cool looking. And I was like, this thing is so cool looking for $50. It's not worth me selling it. So luckily for me now, like I still have all of those singles. And the funny thing is, I sent in 5 of those Charizards to PSA in July, as a value order or whatever. And they're still there. They're almost through the grading stage, but I got 5 of those hollows. And I'm like, my boys, like every day, they want to know what that PSA update is because they're like, do you see how much those things are going for? It's like ridiculous. I was like, we'll see. I mean, what they are, but that's kind of how we got into Pokemon. And then, I was selling sealed cases of evolutions for like $650. And there's people that follow me on Instagram that still poke fun of me because one guy got 2 cases off me for $650. He's like, did you see how much these things are worth now? And so, but that's all good. I mean, it's definitely a lot of fun. I'm glad that the hobby has gotten a lot more attention, Pokemon. And I prefer the Pokemon community. I know the sports card community might get a little upset if they see this video or whatever, but I think it's just a different mentality. I think there's more community in the Pokemon community than the sports card community right now. And I think that's a big problem with sports cards because if you talk to, I think, out of 10 people that are into sports cards, I would say almost 60% of those people are just solely into flipping the card and trying to get that quick buck of making 2 or 3 times the value of that card. I think if you take 10 people in the Pokemon community, I think it's a lot less than that. I think you actually have true collectors in the Pokemon community. Everybody still sells. I'm not saying you shouldn't sell anything. But if you talk to people in the sports card community, there's a lot that don't know too much about sports to begin with. But all they're looking for is like, well, I know this card sells on eBay for X. So as soon as I get it, I'm just going to flip it for that. So I think there's more community in Pokemon or TCG in general rather than sports cards. So I kind of gravitate. My personality is probably more towards that way because, pretty much our goal is I want to see more people get into, I call it the hobby in general. So, when I say the hobby, I'm talking about sports cards, I'm talking about Funko, I'm talking about TCGs. Like, I'd rather see more people get into it and get enjoyment from it and not use it as like a business model. Like, oh, well, I'm going to work part-time and I'm going to flip all these cards and make 50 grand or 25 grand. I mean, you might be able to do that right now, but it's not a sustainable business for long term, in my opinion. So you got to have passion behind what you're in, or you're just not going to last that long to be in it. Mm-hmm. So, I would like to be somebody that helps more people get into the hobby. Maybe bring some sports card people over to TCGs, or maybe some TCG guys, which I have some local people. They've been starting to buy some sports cards now, and I think that's a good thing. And one thing that I also like about TCG and Pokemon is I think it has a lot lower barrier for kids and younger people to get into. Even though we say product is limited, you're still not paying $600, $700, $1,000 a box that was just released this year. That's what sports cards is. So you could still find, if you catch the Walmart stalker or whatever, you could still find product of Pokemon and TCG for 20, 30, 40 bucks a piece. So that does lower the barrier for more people to get into it than, not. So, that's kind of what we're focused on, is trying to get people back into the hobby that maybe have taken a break for a long extended period of time. Or if there's true collectors out there and they haven't been able to beat any of the flippers out of trying to find product, we want to ensure that in the store that people have that opportunity to get the product. And then also just younger kids. When I was a kid, sports cards was pretty much everything, right? But kids these days, they have so many different things to do and so many different distractions. They're not into sports cards. A lot of them aren't into Pokemon or TCG. They're on their phones, TikTok or whatever, which that's all fine. But I think it's funny is when we have my son's friends or something that come sleep over, I'll bring boxes home and I'll let them open with us. And when you put somebody in an environment when they're open and like Hidden Fates or whatever with us, all of a sudden they're like, holy cow, this is so much fun. And I think we just have to give that opportunity to people to experience that excitement. And I think the hobby right now really doesn't do a great job with that, especially in the sports card world. I mean, there's not even a chance for kids to get into the hobby because all the products bought up by everybody and flipped online and eBay. Pokemon is a little bit better, but that's what we're trying to do. We want to make sure that we can put stuff in the hands of collectors, essentially.
And that's something I really appreciate about you guys is, I mean, and I understand it. I understand, some shops, they just keep up with market prices or they try to be somewhere in between.
Mm-hmm.
But I really appreciate you guys. Your prices have been like fantastic. Like even like that booster box that I saw yesterday of Vivid Voltage, like I think you guys had it for like 140. When on eBay, it's like I think it's almost like at 250 right now. And I've seen other shops like other shops, they'll have it for like $200, $250, which again, no judgment here. It's just that's just
right.
I appreciate that. That's your mentality of like, hey, let's make this affordable for people.
Right. Well, as far as that goes, I think more of like a business person, to be honest. I mean, most people think business people are like, hey, let's just get as much as we can for the product. And that's not a sustainable business model because, I think if you're delivering a fair deal to collectors, they are going to support you. And the market is going to slow down. Maybe Pokemon will print double. Maybe they'll release a whole bunch of stuff. And I think by giving these good prices and so forth, I think I'll build up still a following of people and say, hey, I want to get some of that product. I know I could probably get it at Walmart or larger online card stores, but I'm going to get it from this guy because, when product couldn't be found or if it was really expensive, he always tried to make sure that we got a pretty good deal. And that's really what it's about. It's more about creating relationships and opportunities to get a hot product without gouging people, because a gouging business model never is sustainable, in my opinion. So I'll tell the truth. I mean, even if I'm selling at 140, 145, that's about double what I'm getting it for. And that's fair for a business owner because there's expenses to pay. I mean, especially when you have a shop, you're going to have, your mortgage, you're going to have people that you hire and so forth. So I don't think people expect that you're going to give something away. But when somebody's taking a box that they're getting wholesale for, and then they're tripling it or 10xing it, like in sports cards, there's boxes that I know go for wholesale for $125 that are selling right now for $1,100. And that is just unethical, in my opinion. I don't care what anybody says. If you're getting those boxes at $125 and you're selling them for $1,125, I think a lot of people know who they are and what kind of product it is. That's terrible. That's terrible to me. You're going to ruin the hobby eventually by doing that. So, if it's I think 2 to 3 times what wholesale is a fair price. And that's always how we price everything is, around 2 to 3 times what we get it for wholesale. And usually that comes in less than everybody else, or in some cases it comes in less than Walmart too, which is kind of crazy. So sometimes we sell stuff for less than Walmart, which is amazing to me, but it is what it is.
Well, also, I mean, I love what you were saying, how it, having a sustainable business, because you might be making, profit, flipping stuff for 10x, 20x, whatever, like for the next year, for the next 18 months. But what if you want to be in business for 5 years? What if you want to be in business for 10 years? Like, I think by establishing good trust with your community, good trust with your customers, like you're kind of guaranteeing, barring no major, financial whatever, you're guaranteeing, customers that are going to come back. And I mean, again, like like how I started out this this podcast, like I'm a big fan of you guys. Like I check your website almost daily to see what you guys have going on, because I prefer buying from you than from maybe like XYZ person, down the street. And so, I think just definitely Like, and again, whether it's price wise, whether it's just doing the right thing, ethical, like I think people definitely need to keep that in mind, that you don't want just a quick buck. You want to actually build a brand, build a reputation that's going to like last. And I think that's what you guys are doing.
Right, and that's the whole thing. Right. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, that's our whole goal, is to build a community of people. I mean, it doesn't matter if you can make it inside of our store or not, because even when we have the store, we're going to make sure that the online folks can feel like they're part of the store. I mean, pretty much when we're doing things like ordering stickers, or how are we going to set up our hours, or what are we going to do with this, usually we throw that online, do a poll, get people's opinions on it, because obviously I want to know that information. Because if I survey you guys and a majority of you guys like a certain product, I mean, why not get it from the horse's mouth and me try to figure out what people are looking for? So, I think especially, most recently, Dragon Ball. I didn't know too much about Dragon Ball. I heard that it's probably an up and coming TCG. And what I like about it is there's only 2 US distributors, only 2. And I have one of them. And I think it's still affordable right now for the most part, unless you find some of the older product, obviously. But I threw that online, like, hey, we'll probably do Dragon Ball. What do you guys think? And out of the poll, granted, I only got 2,000 followers. So to me, to get 50 responses off of a poll is actually, I think, a lot. And one of the highest responses was Dragon Ball. And I was like, okay, well, we'll order this. If 20 some people said they like Dragon Ball, and I order a case of 12 or whatever it is, I have a good chance of probably selling those boxes. I mean, that's just the numbers game. So I like involving people rather than thinking I know all the answers, because I don't have all the answers. And I think you have to have that kind of relationship either with people in a brick and mortar retail location or online. And I think that's why, we have such a good amount of loyal we have a small following, but it's pretty loyal. I mean, I see the orders come in and it's usually the same people over and over again, but our email list now is almost up to 400. So that's probably why we're selling out a lot too. I know people last night on the post said, oh, it was botted and everything else. I'm like, I'm not that big of a store to be botted, number one. And I only had 20 boxes to sell. So I went through every order and I'm like, everybody has a different address on here. I mean, they're not botting the site. It's just, if you send out the e-newsletter and there's almost 400 people on there, then you do a social media post and you're selling the boxes for $100 less than everybody else. I mean, that's what happens in 30 seconds. They all go. So, and that's another thing, is trying to manage, now that we have a shop, I'm always still trying to manage to make sure that local people are getting a chance to get product too. So, we did put 20 boxes online, but I have a few that I have for local people, because what's the point of spending money for a brick and mortar if I'm not going to have anything in the shop either? So I think if we're looking at a challenge, now that's the challenge. Before, I just had an online store, so I'd just throw everything up on there, then whatever goes. Now it's kind of like, okay, well, if I'm going to get X, I want to make sure that I have so many set aside for people. But that's kind of one of the challenges of having a store. And we did just add 3 more distributors. So we had 3, now we have 6. So we're trying to increase our capacity, which future releases should happen. But, everything's already pre-ordered already and locked in. So these new distributors that we picked up, I'm not going to be able to pick up the phone and say, yeah, give me 50 ETBs of the Shining Fates, because I know that you're going to have some around. So, maybe when they do the restocks, we'll definitely be on that. So I think pretty much every release after Battle Styles, I think you'll see a big difference in our inventory. I think we'll have a decent amount. And then, we'll see where that goes from there.
Awesome. So real quick, this is going to be, I guess, some self-promotion, so to speak. So I know you guys got sports cards, you got Pokemon, you got Funko, and then you mentioned Dragon Ball. Do you got anything else coming up? Anything else that people should be looking out for?
Yes. We will have Magic. So we'll have Magic as well. We are probably about a week away from picking up Flesh and Blood, which Flesh and Blood, from, I don't know if a lot of people know about it, but anybody that you talk about that knows about Flesh and Blood, they almost think that the popularity of that is going to rival Pokemon eventually.
Wow.
My distributor says that it's their hottest product. It's even hotter. They say it sells out of distribution faster than Pokemon, which is, I don't know how that's even possible, but it's a newer type of, it's kind of a mix of Magic and kind of looks to me kind of like a Game of Thrones feel, if that makes any sense. But the game is fairly new. I think it just came out last year. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a, I think that's what the popularity is too. I think a lot of people are trying to get in on something when like original cards are being made and so forth like that. So, and I actually like, if you go to their website, they're all about people playing the game, the collector first. They don't sell in the big box stores. They only sell to hobby stores, which I'm a big fan of that because guess what? You have control over somebody coming in and not cleaning out a shelf then. You see what I'm saying? If it
Yeah.
goes to Walmart or Target, you don't have control over that. Now, I know some Targets and stuff are limiting people, but that's a paper sign. I mean, come on. We know that if nobody's around, these guys are going to figure out a way to clean out a shelf, either by bringing 5 or 6 people with them or just not even paying attention to the sign and then clearing everything out and going to a self-checkout. So, I mean, that's kind of how that's going to work. So I like Flesh and Blood because they support the hobby store. They vet hobby stores really, like, so they're still reviewing our application, but I talked to my distributor. They say it's just a matter of time until we get that. So we're going to get that. That's going to be a really hot product. If you look at some of what the values of some of the things going on right now with that set, it's pretty amazing for that. Booster boxes are already selling for $400 or $500, and they were just released maybe not even 3 or 4 months ago. So that's a big set. We'll probably get into Is it Digimon? Is that how you pronounce it?
Digimon.
What? Digimon. There you go.
Yeah.
So we can get that. I haven't got into that yet, but that's something that we can get into. But we will carry comics too. So, it's just kind of a little bit for everybody. So trying to bring that old school feel where you can go into some place and be like, boom, I can get, one of my favorite comic books. I can get maybe the Funko Pop to match with that. And then, maybe a little bit of sports cards and Pokemon. So that's kind of where we're at with that. And then, we were pretty excited that CGC approved us to be a dealer last week. So that was pretty awesome because I really like what they're doing, especially with the Pokemon and the Magic grading. And then actually Beckett has responded to me here on Friday. So we're actually emailing each other back and forth. So hopefully Beckett approves us. PSA, haven't heard from them. They're too busy. They don't, they got other things going on. Them and Tops, they're cahoots. They don't want to call me back or email me back yet. So, I'll just keep consistently trying to get a hold of them, and then at least to get a no. I mean, I'd rather just get a no than not a response. So that's kind of what we're working on right now.
Awesome. It's just crazy. As you're saying all this, just thinking like, man, all this started because you and your son started opening up some sports cards and start having like some fun with that.
Yeah, so it's kind of, well, they always heard stories because back in the early 90s, my father had a business park that he owned, and my older brother and myself, we collected cards pretty heavily, and he had a little space still unfinished in his business park that he was like, hey, your brother's in high school, why don't you guys open up a sports card shop? Because in the early 90s, everything was sports cards. So we're like, that would be a lot of fun. So my brother was able to get out of high school on a co-op program, like where they, where you go to school half a day and then they let you go work somewhere. Well, they let him go work at his card shop. So how awesome was that? So they let him out, and I was still in middle school at the time. So my mom would drop me off at the shop, and we ran this shop for like 4 years. So I would tell my sons about how much fun we had pulling Ken Griffey Jr. cards and, just all that stuff in the early 90s. And then now they're like, let's do our shop. Let's have a shop. And they kept saying, I thought it was a joke at first. And yeah, okay. And then, as we started selling a lot, and then as we started getting distributors, I was like, actually, this could actually work. So, now we're just a couple of weeks away from opening this shop, which is pretty amazing. So,
So then, anyone who might be listening to this, watching this, do you have any piece of advice, one or two pieces of advice for anyone who like, hey, it's my dream to open up a collectible shop? Like any advice on that front?
Yeah, sure. And I do have people DM me a lot. I've actually had 2 or 3 people that have reached out asking some questions, and I'm always willing to help. I don't know if I'm an expert in this or not, but if anybody has the passion or and just wants to be serious about doing that, they can always hit me up on Instagram, and I'd get back to them and give them any kind of advice that I can offer. But I always tell people when they first ask me, if you're just in it to make money because you see how much stuff is going for, you just don't do it. I was like, you're going to be set up for a failure because, money, it's funny. It's like passion always, in my opinion, in any business that I've been involved in, money always follows your passion. You can't say if you're going out to get a job or if you want to open a business, well, I heard you can make a lot of money in that field or you can make a lot of money. I'm like, you have to be passionate. The people that are most successful in this world, regardless of what business they're in or what kind of job they have, is because they enjoy what they do and they're passionate about it. So if you don't really like sports cards and you're only in it because you know that you can flip a Zion for, $300 or whatever, don't do it because you're going to be built up to fail. Same thing with Pokemon. If you don't know anything about Pokemon, you don't even like Pokemon, but that black box there, that square ETB sells for $90 online and you're buying it for $50. What's the fun in that? That's what I say. I mean, short term, yeah, you'll make a few bucks, but you're going to end up buying the wrong product. And then you're going to cry the blues because you got 50 ETBs and nobody wants to buy because you bought them all at Walmart. So you got to be passionate about what you want to do. And then number 2, you got to plan. I mean, you can't just say, hey, I want to open a shop and, I'm going to call Topps today or Panini today, and they're going to go ahead and sign me up. You've got to put a plan in place and have a goal of what your niche is going to be or what you're going to want to try to provide to the community of people that would be your customers. You can't think about yourself. You got to think about who are you trying to serve and who's your ideal customer. Once you determine that, then it makes it a lot easier to figure out, what your brand's going to be and where you fit in. And that's kind of how I kind of relate to you all. I mean, we're kind of similar. And I want to be, and I told you, I want to be serving people with, families, people trying to get back into the hobby, people that truly enjoy Pokemon or sports cards like collectors, and that's going to resell on eBay. That's just not who I am. I'm not a guy that stays up at 3:00 in the morning and watch some guy break a box of Prism in his basement either. Now that's fine if other people like to do that, but that's just not me. And I think you got to find your niche, and then you got to get serious about it. You got to put a business plan together. And I can tell you the main reason why we keep getting all these great deals with CGC and distributors and so forth is because we're serious. And I guarantee you that they probably get 1,000 emails a day and maybe 1% of them actually have any type of plan put together. So if you're calling up these distributors or emailing them, say, can I just get some Pokemon? That's all I want to buy. They're going to delete your email. They're not going to return your call. But if you say, hey, here's what we're trying to do. We're located in this town here. This is kind of my background of why my business will be sustainable, because they really want to deal with people that have a longevity in this hobby. They don't want to deal with people that are just trying to chase a quick buck too. So you got to be smart about it and say, this is my business plan. This is why I want to do it. This is where I want to be in business at. Here's my online reach. Here's what I'm trying to get across as part of my image and my brand. And then I say, if you can find other people that have the same passion that you do, I think that's even better, because number 1, you're going to have a better experience because you get to share it with somebody else. Okay. Number 2, you can spread out your risk. If you're talking about business, it's all about risk management too. So to me, when my 2 friends really wanted to get behind this and do this as well, I'm like, guess what? Now we have the buying power of 3 people. And we also have the labor force of 3 people if somebody's sick and can't make it into the shop or something like that. So that's the other thing. Determine if you really want to take the load on yourself, or if you can partner up with somebody that's like-minded that you can trust, is going to have the same amount of passion that you do. And then it's just doing the work. It's just doing the work, trying to build up your community. it doesn't matter how many followers you have. It really doesn't. I mean, you'll eventually get followers. I started out with 0 followers March of last year, and I probably could do a better job and get more people, following us. But I think people worry about having that 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 audience because they see other people doing it. But I'd rather have 200 quality people that comment, that interact with me, than 3,000 people that never even look at a post. So it's quality over quantity, I think, is the biggest thing as well. So if you're trying to build up your social media brand and so forth, number one, don't go buy followers, because that's pretty darn cheesy. And then number two, don't worry about how many people like your post or read it or whatever, because guess what? If you don't even produce the content, you'll never get to 20,000 followers or 50,000 or 100,000. So, and just produce it. Like, I'm sure my videos are terrible. I'm sure I stutter in videos. I didn't even shave for this one today. So to me, you just gotta ask you to do something. Like you say, hey, can you do this video? I'm like, why not? I mean, you just got to put yourself out there. And I guarantee you, if you do this 100 times, you're going to end up being pretty good at it, rather than trying to be perfection from day one. Like you see Gary V's video, or you see Logan Paul. I'm like, and I want to do all those graphics on my YouTube channel and everything else. Who cares? Just start. You'll eventually learn how to do it. But if you just don't start doing it, you never start from perfection. So to me, that's kind of my soapbox of getting started in this business. Is really just being serious, being passionate, but then being serious, because it is a business too. So you got to have passion, but then you got to be serious about making this work and crunching the numbers. That's about it.
I love that. That's fantastic advice. And also, I do want to make a note, that last piece of advice of like just starting, especially if you're making content, like I can't even express that enough, how much I agree with that. Because even if you look at someone like a Logan Paul or Gary Vee, a Leon Hart, an Unlisted Leaf, like a lot of these people have their first videos still like up on YouTube. And I always tell people, go scroll to their first videos, and you see they were making it with like a flip phone. They were making it with some crappy camera. Like they didn't have the best lighting. Like they just started. And so you have to put in the reps in order to, because I mean, who cares if you have the best video quality, but you don't have any reps in? Like you're just going to look like a fool, but in like HD.
Yeah.
And so
that's the truth. And I do like watching like the older videos, and a good example of that is if you follow Gary Vee, he still has his first video of when he did this wine business for his dad. They turned his liquor store into like one of the best online wine stores in the country, and that's how Gary Vee got really his start into becoming a multimedia, building this empire. And his video, like you said, it's all grainy. He's in a corny dress shirt that's not even his type of, how he dresses or his type of style. And it looks like something that I would do. Like, hey, here's what it is. Yeah, wine tastes good, blah, blah, blah. Now you watch his videos, and I mean, it's, ultra produced and everything like that. But that was years ago. So I'm with you. I mean, just like us. I mean, maybe one day, you'll have a big following and so forth, and we come back and look at this video and say, this guy didn't even shave for the video, and he's wearing a sweatshirt. And, but that's how it goes. I mean, you got to be yourself, and that's something else in business. If you can't be yourself and have fun doing it, then you're not in the right business.
100%. All right. So I know we got to wrap up soon, but we're going to get to something very, very exciting. Guys,
right.
PJ is providing something amazing. He is providing, so we're going to have a giveaway for, do you want to say, go ahead, what it is?
Oh, sorry. I don't want to put up there. No, we just I got one of these left. So we're going to give out this Mythical Pin collection, and it has some 2 generation packs in it. I mean, the box is a little bit, if you're an inbox collector, I don't think anybody's an inbox collector when there's generation packs. So, I mean, generation packs are in here. The promo card's still in perfect shape, so you're fine there. So definitely a pretty good giveaway, in my opinion.
Yes. And guys, if you're new to the hobby, this is a 20th anniversary box. We're in the 25th anniversary right now. This is a 20th anniversary box, I believe. These go for right now on eBay for like $70, $60 or more. So this is not a cheap box
Yep.
to get. And so thank you so much, PJ, for this, for providing that.
Sure.
So to enter the giveaway, here are the giveaway rules. First of all, go and follow PJ Kollectible Kings on Instagram. He will also have a post with a picture of this box on his page. Go ahead and tag someone in that post. Anyone you like, friend, family, a foe, just go tag someone in the post. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel and leave a comment below saying that you did the following, that you, I can't remember what it was, that you follow Kollectible Kings, that you tag someone, and that you are subscribed. So again, that might have been a little confusing. I'll go ahead and put everything up on screen. But again, follow Kollectible Kings on Instagram, tag someone in that post.
Yep.
Subscribe to this channel and leave a comment below saying that you did
and comment on this video as well, so we know that you did all that. So
exactly, and we will go ahead. So this giveaway will run through Sunday, so it will close at midnight, and then on Monday we will be announcing the giveaway winner. Okay, so again, PJ, thank you so much for that. That honestly, I almost want to like have my sister try to enter because I really want that box.
You want to do it yourself?
Yes.
You can unfollow me. You follow me. Follow me. Tag your daughter, and then like the video. And then you can be.
I'll have Celeste. Celeste will go create her own Instagram account right now.
Yeah. No, but no, it's anytime. This is fun to do. I mean, this is fun to do. I always like giving away things, and if we can do it together, then that's always a good time. So.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Like that's also, I've been looking to do more giveaways recently just because of how hard it's been for people to find product, at least to find product at an affordable price. And so, yeah, I'm pretty pumped for this. All right, so we're just going to wrap up.
I appreciate the time. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap up some very quick rapid fire questions, and then I will let you go.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so what is your favorite breakfast food?
Oh, it's bacon and eggs, man.
Bacon and eggs. I'm down with that. Favorite sport?
I coached baseball for a while, but I would probably say I like football better.
What's your favorite team?
I was born in Pittsburgh, so unfortunately I'm a Steelers fan this year.
Do you have a favorite Pokemon yet?
I mean, I don't know. It's cheesy enough to say Charizard or Pikachu or anything like that, but I like a lot of them. It's like once you start knowing Pokemon, you're like, oh, well, that's kind of a cool one. That's kind of a cool one. I would say Lugia.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's actually one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So is there a card that you would love in your collection that you don't have yet?
Actually, probably, and I'm gonna get one eventually. It's gonna be a Shadowless Charizard, probably PSA. I'd like to get a PSA 8 or 9, maybe. So I think that's something. If we're talking Pokemon, that's something that I like to do.
Awesome. When you do, I will be very jealous.
Yeah.
And last question, what makes you happy?
Makes me happy. Just, I think family. I mean, family makes me really happy. I think, you're a father yourself. I mean, having sons or children in general. And, it's, to me, as you get older, I mean, I'm 40 years old now. A shared experience is better than an individual experience, in my opinion. And, when you can share the experience with other people and their excitement, I think that's what makes life, 10 times better.
Love that. Well, PJ, thank you again so much for being on the show. And guys, go follow this man on Instagram, Kollectible Kings. Go check out his shop. Honestly, one of the best people in the hobby, in my opinion. So fortunate to have him in the hobby and everything that he's doing with their shop. So again, PJ, thank you for being on.
Hey, I appreciate it. We'll be talking soon.